Morning, everyone. We'll just give everyone a second to trickle in and then we'll get started. All right, let's get going. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Business Support Series webinar. Thank you all for joining us on this lovely sunny day. I'm Emma Minchevsky. I'm Communications Manager with the Halifax Chamber, and I'm your host this morning. I am one of those people who checks the mailbox every single day when the census comes out. Once the rumor starts, I am out there checking the mailbox. I love the census. I love a good survey. And of course, I love good data. So I'm really looking forward to learning about how we as businesses can use the census data to support decision making and strategy in the coming years. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions for our presenter this morning. Feel free to type any other questions into the Q&A box as we go, and we will get to them at the end. Our presenter today is Patricia Griffith, Data Ambassador with Statistics Canada. She's been with the agency for 28 years, and her main job is to get into the community to showcase the availability of their data and to promote data usage amongst the general user public. Welcome, Patricia. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So again, my name is Patricia, and I just wanted to thank the Chamber for having me here today to present this information. And hopefully everyone has received their questionnaire by this point in time and has filled it out. So the presentation today, what I plan on looking at is the content changes for the 2021 census, in addition to the process that we took to get to those changes. Also in regard to our new reality of COVID-19, how Statistics Canada has adopted new changes with regard to collection for the census. I'll also give you an idea of what our dissemination strategy looks like with regard to releasing the data. And then finally, I'll provide you with some information on a new initiative that Statistics Canada has, which is called the Small Business Hub. And it will just give you some information on meeting your data requirements in terms of target markets, building a business plan, just all kinds of great information. And I will show you where you can have access to that. So in the words of Teresa Scassa, quality data informs good decision making and helps us better understand our country and the challenges that we face. The census is the backbone of our national data collection exercise. It offers all Canadians a chance to count and to be counted. So Teresa Scassa is a chairperson of the Canadian Statistics Advisory Council. And as she mentions, the census truly is the backbone of decision-making in Canada. It's the primary source of socioeconomic data for specific population groups, as well as for detailed information at small levels of geography. It also has other essential purposes, such as realigning boundaries of federal electoral districts and also enabling our governments to calculate transfer payments. So the 2021 Census Content was actually developed with Canadians and for Canadians. We did conduct very extensive consultations and discussions with various federal, provincial ministries, NGOs, and other interested organizations. And we also wanted to keep some returning content from the 2016 census in terms of questions for ongoing trend analysis. The new questions that we did add to the 2021 census are there basically to ensure that we measure Canada's growing diversity and also to ensure that the results are more reflective of the Canadian society. So the road to the 2021 census. It's pretty long, and I'm not going to get into the detail behind that, but on our website, and this is exactly what the tab looks like, what you're seeing right now is a page which will provide you with a very detailed document, which basically outlines everything from start to finish and how the 2021 census came about, when we started, et cetera. So if you're interested in getting a copy of this document, I'd be pleased to get that to you at the end of this presentation. I'll send it to you via email. So in terms of the 2021 Census of Population consultation results, basically what we heard from Canadians was the following. We started the consultation process in September 2017, and we ended it in May 2018. And it involved basically a series of online consultations in addition to face-to-face consultations with Canadians and federal departments, other interested organizations, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit stakeholders. We basically heard from municipal governments as well. We were speaking with researchers and academia at various universities across Canada. We were talking to businesses, and of course, we also involved the general public in these discussions. So in addition to the online consultations, we actually met in person with approximately 14 other federal departments and other interested organizations. And just to the right on this slide are just a few examples of some of those departments. So for example, Health Canada, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, D&D, and Veterans Affairs Canada. The census test basically is another process that gets performed just to make sure that the questionnaire, the new questions that we'll be adding to the new census are relevant and actually make sense to respondents. So we conducted this, we basically use these collection procedures and tools to prepare for the Census of Population and the 2021 Census of Agriculture. And this is basically just to help us to determine to make sure that the respondents understand the lingo on the questionnaires and any concepts that are new to the 2021 census. So essentially, the 2021 census content was published in the Canada Gazette on July 17th, 2020. So some of the changes that we're going to look at with respect to the 2021 census are with regard to sex at birth and gender, ethnic and cultural origins, minority language and educational rights, Indigenous peoples, memberships with Métis organizations and settlements, labor market information, in addition to some more detail on commuting to work, and also with regard to veteran and military service. And also we've added a new housing question that we'll take a quick look at. So in order to better reflect how Canadians describe themselves and to address the gaps in information that currently exist about Canada's transgender and non-binary population, but at the same time, we want to maintain the high standards for data quality and historical comparability. So Statistics Canada developed a revised sex at birth variable and a new gender variable, as well as classifications that were associated with each. And so as a result, new standards for gender and sex variables were released in April 2018. And so following the 2016 census, as I mentioned, we did consult with local stakeholders, and we realized that in order to better understand the needs and challenges associated with producing these reliable data on transgender and non-binary populations living in Canada, that these questions needed to be added. So basically it's question 2 and 3 on the long form questionnaire. So what was the person's sex at birth? So we're asking for assigned at birth. And then the question number 3 asks, what is the person's gender? So again, these questions just added to identify a data gap that we basically knew already existed. With respect to ethnic and cultural origins, essentially this variable has been included on the census since 1871. And furthermore, a question on this topic was asked in censuses that even prior to Confederation, which reflects a long-standing, continuing, and widespread demand for information on ethnic and cultural diversity of Canadians. So we realize that Canada is an increasingly diverse country, and the revised questions will better measure this growing diversity and allow us to remove the influence on responses. So what we've done to this question is we've included only a small number of ethnic and cultural origins on the questionnaire, and we actually ask the respondent to refer to a link on the online survey, which then takes them to a list of over 500 examples of ethnic and cultural origins. So this is question 23 on the long form questionnaire, which says, what were the ethnic or cultural origins of this person's ancestors? Ancestors may have indigenous origins or origins that refer to different countries, or other origins that may not refer to different countries. So once the respondent gets through this question, then we ask them to visit the link, which is on the online questionnaire, and takes them to a list of 500 other possible responses. The question of religion, we usually include this question usually comes out every 10 years. So the last time that we asked this question was 2011. So again, it's included in the 2021 census. Again, there's widespread demand for information about religious affiliation and diversity in Canada. So keeping in line with the question on ethnic origin as well, the revised questionnaire includes some examples of religions and denominations on the questionnaire that we included in 2011. But we also refer the respondent to a link that has over 200 different examples of religion and denominations that they can select from. So another important piece of information was the idea of adding a question about education in the minority official language of the primary and secondary levels to determine the number of children of rights holders under 3 criteria that were set out in Section 23 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So the data that we needed to get at was the parent's mother tongue, the parent's language of instruction, and the sibling's language of instruction. The new questions, along with the existing questions that we had in 2016, and the information on the relationships between members of the same household, will help to measure the number of children of rights holders, and it will also support English and French educational programs in various regions of Canada. So on the long form questionnaire, this is questions number 13, 14, and 15. With regard to Indigenous peoples, the 2021 version of this question will not include the term Aboriginal. Instead, it will ask whether the person is First Nation, Métis, or Inuk. And this is in line with the preferred distinctions-based approach that was identified during discussions with stakeholders. So this is essentially question number 24 on the long form questionnaire. Another new question on the 2021 census being asked is collecting information on membership with a Métis organization or settlement. This was identified as a major information gap following the 2016 census. And the purpose of this question is essentially just to provide more detailed information on the Métis population in order to support policies and programs for Canada. This is essentially question 28 on the long form questionnaire. And with this new question, it essentially allows Statistics Canada to differentiate between citizens of Métis governments that have signed the Canada Métis Nation Accord and Métis individuals outside of these entities. Another important component of this was enrollment under an Inuit land claims agreement. So this was also a new question that we added, essentially used to collect information on whether respondents are enrolled under or beneficiaries of any Inuit land claim agreements. The main purpose of this question was essentially to provide additional information for the Inuit population to better support evidence-based decision-making by the Government of Canada, as well as by Inuit governments and organizations. So similar to the Métis question, the respondent is to identify the specific agreement that they are enrolled in. And there's also a section for the respondent to specify an agreement. So in the case that it could be a new agreement in place between the time the questionnaire was approved and the time that the census data is collected. And so this information would be important for the next census when the consultations take place, so that we can look at what respondents wrote as other in terms of this specific question. With regard to labor market information, So with the COVID situation that we've been through and that we're still going through, we wanted to better understand the labor market issues such as underemployment, the quality of employment, and labor market attachment. So we've added 2 questions to the 2021 Census Long Form Questionnaire. So one question was the main reason the individual worked less than 49 weeks during the year preceding the census. And the second question was the main reason that an individual worked mostly part-time during that same year. The census, of course, will provide us with information on labor market at varied levels of low geography and for very specific groups such as low income, the Indigenous population, and visible minority groups, just to name a few. So this is essentially questions number 48, number 54, and number 55 on the long form survey. We also wanted to expand the question from 2016 on commuting. And we realized that there actually was a bit of a data gap there as well, because we realized that respondents were indicating that they used multiple forms of commuting to get to work. In the test that we did, it was indicated that about 12% of respondents had said that they use one or more modes of transportation to get to work. So they may have dropped their car off at a carpool parking lot, taken the bus to get to work. Maybe they hopped in a colleague's car. So we really wanted to get at the idea of how many forms of transportation people were taking to get to their jobs. So we did introduce this new question on multiple modes of commuting, and we modified the wording of the current question on vehicle occupancy, just to get a sense of how many people were actually in the car commuting with the respondent. With regard to veteran and military service, again, this was another major data gap that we realized after the 2016 census. And we wanted to be able to determine the number of Canadians that had previously served or were currently serving as members in the Canadian Armed Forces. And the main purpose of this question was to fill a data gap. But we also realized that this data gap existed from the help of Veterans Affairs Canada, Department of National Defence, and Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And so this, by introducing this question to the 2021 census, it basically allows these organizations to better serve this population by having this data available. Another question that we wanted to get at as well, and now this is on the 2AR questionnaire, and it refers mainly to enumeration in on-reserve, northern, and remote communities. But we did also include a new question for user or occupancy fees for housing that was provided by local governments, by First Nations or Indian bands. So we wanted to get an idea of, in terms of the data that we currently have on complementing the rent and mortgage payments, we wanted to have some additional information on nationwide housing affordability. And this is a brand new question which will allow us to calculate housing affordability in Indigenous communities. So of course, COVID-19 did present some challenges for all organizations, not just Statistics Canada. But we are on track. The census did take place on May 11th, this past May. We have adapted our census program to the new COVID reality. And so where at all possible, and hopefully you guys have all received your census questionnaire with your secure access code to fill out your questionnaire online in a secure environment. And of course, the contact-free goal as much as possible is the main priority here. And we were also encouraging Canadians to go online and fill out the questionnaire as much as possible. And I think, you probably saw a lot more advertising this year, a lot more social media reflecting this idea that we really, really wanted Canadians to get online and fill out the questionnaire, just given the circumstances that we were in. We have actually redesigned the collection procedures to ensure that everybody will get to participate in filling out the questionnaire. So what we have done is, if the questionnaire for whatever reason is not completed online, we do have a census helpline, which respondents can call to get help in filling out the questionnaire. In the event that we do have to do a non-response follow-up, um, we have been following health and safety provincial protocols. And so all of our field interviewers are properly attired in PPEs. And they are basically working in a guide in accordance with public health authorities in each province. Another thing to keep in mind also is that if field interviewers are required to go to a respondent's home, that the field interviewer will actually never enter the person's space at all. The interview would take place with social distancing, with the Statistics Canada employee having a well-identified badge and also wearing all the protective equipment that is required in each province. With regard to our 2021 dissemination strategy, so if some of you are already familiar with previous censuses, you'll understand that the collecting information from 15 million households is quite a task, and so there is a bit of a time gap between when we collect the data and when we can actually release all of the variables. So just to give you an idea of how that works, in the winter of 21 and 22, we will be releasing all of our geography and reference products. So that would be the Census Dictionary, the Geography Dictionary, any concordance files. We would also release information on Canada's growing population, where they're living. So just some basic information on population by sex, which would give you sort of a brief understanding of what the population growth has been looking like since the 2016 census. Looking forward to spring 2022, we would turn this dissemination to demographic information. So that would be age, sex, gender, and types of dwellings. In the summer of 2022, we get to the linguistic information. So again, this is where you would have access to the improved data that we've addressed, filling the data gaps with regard to French and English and languages in Canada. In the fall of 2022 is when we would release the information on immigration, religion, ethnocultural diversity, and also the mobility information. And then last but not least, in the winter of 22 and 2023, we'd get to the more detailed information, which is the education, the labor force information, mobility status, and instruction in official minority language information. And then the last release that would probably come out would be the more analytical and technical pieces of information. So those could be things that Statistics Canada releases, and these pieces of information are currently on our website. So it could just be updated information on non-response. It could be technical pieces on variables that were released previously. So for example, highlight tables on age, sex, and gender. So just some interesting things to look forward to as we disseminate these pieces of information. So another new initiative by Statistics Canada has also been the inclusion of our small business hub. So this is actually on our website now, and it's on the census main page, and it's under a tab that's called Census Spotlight. And here you will find the small business hub. So what you will, the information that you will get here is, it's essentially a resource that's intended to help small businesses, owners, and entrepreneurs plan and run their businesses. Essentially, it highlights key data pieces from the Census of Population for business planning purposes. It also contains a number of other key Statistics Canada products. And we have also had contributions on this site from Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Canada, and also the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, which is called FedDev Ontario, that allows target audiences to better understand the Canadian small business environment, as well as facilitate business planning processes. So what does this actually look like? So when you get into the Small Business Hub, the first piece of information that you have access to is a section on exploring your business environment. And it's divided into Canada at a glance, understanding your target market, and then a little bit more information on data consultation services at Statistics Canada. So when you get into Canada at a glance, what you will find here is a product called GeoSearch. And it's an interactive mapping application that essentially allows you to get a visual overview of a specific region in Canada in which census data are available. So you can basically explore and compare regions of interest. You can see key demographic information at a glance, and you would also have access to any associated data products, analytical products and maps, so that you'd have dive into more information on your business. In terms of understanding your target market, understandably, each population group has unique characteristics. And so this particular section allows you to explore your geographic region of interest. You can also develop a better understanding of traits that characterize the people living in your target area. And it also allows you to better understand potential customers that you may have. With regard to the data consultation services at Statistics Canada, in some instances, you may find that the information that's contained in the first two segments maybe slightly meets your needs, but perhaps you need something a little bit more detailed. And this is where the data consultation service would come in. If you required more, a consulting analyst to help you look at exactly what you needed. So perhaps that could be a custom tabulation, maybe it would be a semi-custom tabulation. But this is where you would have access to basically front door entrance to a Statistics Canada consulting analyst. So just to give you a sense of what this looks like. So this is Canada at a glance. And if you've had the opportunity to work with this is also available on the 2016 website now. Basically, it just allows you to easily find geographic areas. You can search by census division, you can search by postal code, or you can search by place name. And it just also allows you to more easily link data products, analytical products, and maps for whatever area that you're selecting on the map. In terms of understanding your target market, essentially the data that's available on the Small Business Hub at the moment is 2016 census data. But we will populate that with 2021 data as it's released. But basically, this just will give you access to looking at population at various levels of geography. So in this section, you can quickly access population data, you can access age characteristics, you can access information on housing, marital status, family care. So basically every component, every variable available here is where you would be able to find that. And again, you can search by place name, you can search by the first 3 digits of the postal code, and you can also search by a geographic code if that's what you tend to work with. So I also mentioned our data consultation services. So we can provide custom tabulations for census years 1971 to 2016, and of course 2020-21 when that is available. So in terms of custom services, for example, if you have a list of postal codes that makes up your target market area, we can actually take that data and we can run a census profile based on that area, so that you're just getting, for that custom geography, a complete census profile of what your target market looks like. We can do custom map creation. In the past, we've done map creation for specific sales zones for some businesses that, maybe had representatives in different sales zones. So they wanted to have these on a map, and they also wanted to have profiles run for these specific sales zones, so that the persons that are out selling the product or services, have a wonderful understanding of the target market that they're dealing with. We can also do print on demand formats if that would be something that you needed. So in terms of creating or updating your business plan, this section basically allows users to apply the demographic understandings that you found by doing the previous sections in the Small Business Hub. And it basically allows you to further explore your business environment. This section will allow you to essentially create a business plan that will facilitate your long-term strategic focus. So when you're starting a business, some of the resources that are available, this section will allow you to become acquainted with initial steps involved in starting your business. You're also provided with some key considerations about industries that you may wish to join. Resources here will essentially assist users in better understanding important factors, such as what types of products are in demand, what type of sales volume a specific industry does, and the forms of technology that are used that would be required in order to stay competitive and stay on top of changing demands in your product or service. We also have a section on devising a strategy and creating a business plan. And this basically just walks you through the steps of creating a well-considered plan. This section will also allow users to explore strategies that are most used in planning and maintaining small and medium-sized businesses in different industries, along with developing a better understanding of how businesses adapt to changing market realities. Developing a market plan. This section will actually guide you through the considerations to essentially create your own marketing plan. Having an effective marketing plan is essential to finding the smartest and most cost-effective ways to identify and reach customers and to turn promotional activities into actual sales. You'll be better able to understand key factors such as the service context in which different industries and the interplay between products and services and how marketing activities are actually carried out in specific industries. In this section on responding to changes in the marketplace, users are better able to explore how Canadian small businesses have responded to circumstances that have impacted the marketplace. By keeping up with current trends in an ever-changing business climate, small business owners are able to adapt and change in order to maintain and grow their industries, grow their businesses. So some of the resources that you have available here would be events in the geographical market by industry and enterprise type. You can have a better look at competitors in your geography by industry and enterprise type. There's information on responses to change and competition in your geography by industry and enterprise type. And also expansion of capacity for services to complement the sale of goods and services by industry and enterprise size. Additional resources available. So the COVID-19 pandemic has basically drastically shifted the economic landscape and the way businesses are operating. So in this section, you would basically find information on resources that show the impact of COVID-19 and what these impacts, what the resulting, I guess, outcomes were for small and medium-sized enterprises in Canada. And it also provides information on available support programs. So through this pandemic, Statistics Canada has actually built a COVID-19 data hub, which has some fantastic information on the ways that COVID-19 has affected the labor force. Again, as I mentioned, small business. So if you haven't already had a chance to look at that, I definitely suggest that you do that. It's on the main page of our website and it's in a big box called So that essentially ends what I wanted to discuss today. So I would be happy to address any questions if anybody has any.
Yes, we did get a couple here in the Q&A, so we'll start there. Approximately how long does it take for information to be delivered when we request assistance from data consultation services? Is there a general time frame or is it more dependent on the content we are requesting, and can they access more up-to-date information?
So the usually when you're ordering a custom tabulation, the time frame is from the start when we actually start talking about what. So we actually go into we build a contract for you, and so in this contract we, after having discussions with you, the client, we figure out the exact table that you're interested in looking at, the exact variables, the exact geographies. We build a contract for you to look at, and the turnaround time from that point until when you actually get the data is anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks.
Perfect, thank you. And we're also wondering, someone's wondering if you would be able to share these slides for future reference.
Definitely, I will be sending these slides to the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, and we will share the PDF with you after the presentation.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question here. Has the switch to a digital census impacted your results at all?
Actually, I don't actually have the number today, but I think about 2 weeks ago, we are actually well on track to meet to have a fantastic response rate, and I think we were already at about 10 or 11 million households that I had already responded to the census. So it's actually looking really good.
Okay, that's good to hear. Can any Canadian business access the Small Business Resource Hub?
Absolutely. It is on when you go to our website, our homepage, at the top of our page, there's a section on census. You click on census main page, and then you'll see a section on census spotlight. And if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see a section on the small business hub. You click on that link and it takes you to the information.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there any value in small businesses doing their own data collection, or do you think they can get a really good chunk from the Statistics Canada census?
I think you can get a really good sense of whatever your product or service is. I think you can get a really good sense of what's going on using Statistics Canada data. The problem in collecting your own data is that, first of all, Statistics Canada, our mandate is to disseminate information that's reliable for Canadians. And so when you get into collecting data on your own, it's very time consuming, but it can also be very costly. I'd say that using Statistics Canada data is absolutely the best way to get a really great understanding of what's going on in your industry.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very lucky to have access to that. It's there, it's free. Make sure you
It's
take
free,
advantage.
exactly.
Are there any other types of data that you collect that might be relevant to small businesses in Canada?
Absolutely. So aside from the census, which again is, it's sort of the largest survey that we do, other pieces of information that may be of interest would be our business register data. So what that looks at is you can get data using an industry code, which provides the number of those or the number of those industries, the level of employment. So if the business has 1 to 5 employees or 10 to 15 employees, and we can do that by smaller geographical regions as well. So if you're getting to wanting to get a sense of how many similar types of industries are in let's say the geography that you're interested in starting your business, that would be a great piece of information. Another great piece of information, again, would be the labor market survey, the labor force data. Again, the benefit of using that data is that it's collected monthly. So it's great up-to-date information on what the labor market looks like in a particular geography. So in terms of industry or occupation, all that data is available monthly. Another wonderful piece of information would be the survey of household spending. So depending on what kind of information or what kind of product or service you may be offering, this survey gives you access to a general spending by Canadians on a yearly basis on items like food, clothing, deodorant, food items, like basically any item that you're interested in. We can give you that information, sort of an annual average, and we can also break that information down by quintiles and specific geographies as well. So there's lots of information there. Again, if any of your participants today have other, specific questions that they'd like me to answer in terms of their specific industry, I'd also be happy to communicate with them after this presentation.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be great. I would love to know how much I'm spending on food annually. Groceries versus restaurants. I'm sure it's a
Definitely. Yeah.
really alarming number. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll just keep that to myself. I was also wondering, I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, but do you have any interesting COVID-19 related stats that you guys have gathered over the last year? So maybe I know we've got some interesting job numbers that are happening, or has people's spending changed at all?
I didn't include that in this presentation, but I would direct you to, and I'd be happy to pull some of that information out and send it to you that you can share with your members as well when I send the presentation. But as I mentioned, we did, Statistics Canada was heavily involved in collecting COVID-19 data. And so we do have a specific hub that's just geared specifically towards that and the effects that it's had on business, the labor market, mental health, general health, so all kinds of information, which I can share the link with you as well, and you can share that with your members. But we were really, really busy, and Statistics Canada, not only just collecting the data, but we were also involved in contact tracing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because we do have, with the surveys that we conduct, we have interviewers that on a normal day would be out in the field touching base with respondents. But with COVID in the picture, we have basically, those field interviewers were now involved in actually helping provincial ministries with contact tracing because they're set up with that equipment to do that from their home. So it's been great. We've done some really wonderful things, and I'll definitely share that link with you when I share the presentation.
That would be great. Thank you. Wow, COVID has really created an all hands on deck situation for everyone,
Definitely
hasn't it?
has, yes.
Perfect. I have one more question here. If anyone else has any, feel free to drop them into the Q&A box. What is next for the census? How will it develop in the years to come, and how far have we come in the last 10 years, let's say?
I mean, I've been around for a number of censuses. I'm sorry to say that, but I think I started when the 1996 census came around. So I've seen a couple. I've been around for a few cycles, and I've seen us come like very, very far in terms of the information that we have been providing to Canadians. I think the most pivotal point for us was probably around the 2011 census, where we started to make a lot of our products available free online. So the geography boundary files, a lot of the data pieces that were not available previously were all available free online. So I think we've come a long way. And I think the fact that we do, between census years, take the time to consult with Canadians and other federal, provincial, municipal stakeholders to get a sense of where we do have some data gaps. And so that happens every census period. So right after we get through this census, we're starting to consult for the next round. So I think just by doing that and moving forward, we're just basically allowing input into being able to collect and to show how diverse Canada is in terms of how we're changing, how the population's changing. So I think it's just going to get better. But I do think that these consultations and these tests 100% help, and we will continue to do that. So.
Amazing. Thank you. That's a great answer. It's really interesting to watch it evolve. I have a question just out of pure curiosity, because you guys do such incredible work all across Canada. How many of you does it take? How many people do you employ in Canada? It must be quite the
Oh my
team.
goodness, I couldn't even tell you. So I can give you a sense of what we are regionally, and then you can multiply that by every province across Canada. So
Perfect.
I work in the Halifax regional office, and we are part of the Eastern region, which is attached to our Montreal office. So in those offices, we have a consulting analyst, we have a communications team, we have a human resources team, but we also have the other side of the component, the other side of the coin, where all of our collection teams are stationed. So we have, at any time in our regional office, we can have over 300 interviewers rotating in through the office that are calling and participating, and they're getting the information from our respondents across Canada on various surveys that we might have in the field. So it could be labor force, it could be a health survey, it could be, I mean, you name it. The Atlantic region is always involved in that collection process.
Wow.
So there's regional offices in Montreal. There's a regional office in Toronto. There's two regional offices out west. Now, the hub of all of this is in Ottawa, and there are, I couldn't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands of employees that work out of our Ottawa office who, if you think of the over 500 surveys that we collect, and there's teams of people that are staffed under each of those specific surveys, it's a lot of people.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I hope my boss isn't on this call, but how often do you hire? No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. That is all the questions I have. I'm just going to take another little look at the Q&A box here. That is it for now. I'm going to wrap up, but if anyone has any questions while I'm wrapping up, please feel free to drop them in. Patricia, thank you so much. This was extremely interesting and valuable. I could listen to you talk all day, and I'm going to come up with some more questions.
I hope you do, and thank you very much for having me. And yes. If you haven't already filled your questionnaire out, get out there and do that. Get online and fill it out.
Census plug, it's time. Perfect.
That's right.
Thank you everyone for attending today. I know it's a sunny day, so get out there and enjoy the sunshine now. And tomorrow we are hosting Aaron O'Toole, leader of Canada's Conservatives. So hop on for that. We also have quite the full calendar of free events happening this month, and there's still 3 weeks left, and most of them I mentioned are free. So take a look at halifaxchamber.com/events, get signed up, come and join us again. This webinar was recorded and it will be available to all attendees shortly on YouTube. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks,
Thank you.
Patricia.
Bye.